WinSidr has released their preseason rankings for the WNBA teams, and we're going to talk about where the Chicago Sky rank amongst those teams. We also have details from the first day of training camp for the Chicago Sky, and 2 Chicago Sky players rank on players most likely to break out this season list. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
Welcome to Chicago Sky Central, and here's your host, Haize.
All right, Sky fans, welcome to another episode of Chicago Sky Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Sky related. We're the best in the business. And if you want to follow me, you can do so at CEO Haize, at CEO Haize. If you want to follow the show, you can do so at Shy Sky Pod on every social media platform. But let's get into the content for today. So WinSidr has released their preseason power rankings of teams and where they sit at. It's a preseason power ranking. So right now, of course, most of the rankings are going to go to teams that have made the biggest acquisitions, right? And so that's expected that the Chicago Sky are going to be ranked lower on this list. We're going to break it down all the way from the top until we get to the Sky. So, of course, the Las Vegas Aces, the reigning WNBA champions who added future Hall of Famer Candace Parker, of course, are listed at number 1. Number 2, of course, is the New York Liberty, who added Breonna Stewart, Jonquel Jones, to what they've already have on that team. Our legend, Courtney Vandersloot, also being on that team, they are naturally at number 2, which makes sense. The Washington Mystics come in at number 3 on that list, which I think that's a little bit high for them, but hey, it is what it is. The Connecticut Suns next up at number 4, and then you have the Phoenix Mercury, the Atlanta Dream, the Los Angeles Sparks, which maybe they're a little bit higher on the Sparks than me. They come in at number 7. The Dallas Wings at number 8. The Minnesota Lynx at number 9, and the Chicago Sky at number 10, being ranked only above the Indiana Fever and the Seattle Storm. And when I look at this list, there's a couple of teams that I am surprised. For one, the Dallas Wings being above the Chicago Sky, and maybe it's me being a Chicago Sky homer, just rubs me a little bit of a wrong way, but the Sky come in at number 10 on this list. And what they quote as far as the reason is just the number of losses that the Chicago Sky lost. When you look at them losing 80% of their starting lineup from last season, it makes sense, right? While I can have my gripes, I can understand why the Chicago Sky rank at number 10 where they do in the bottom of the league, right? And so them only being ranked above 2 teams, hey, that just shows, hey, we got so much to prove. Add more chips on the shoulders of these players. It is what it is there. But, considering what's going on in the super teams that formed, you can't really expect the Chicago Sky to rank high on a list like that right now. It would kind of be ridiculous if they did rank high, just considering everything that they've lost so far. But, the Chicago Sky, they have to prove it. That's what it boils down to. At the end of the day, they have to come out. They have to prove. They have to come together as a team. And all eyes are really going to be on Kahleah Copper and seeing what if she transcends into that kind of that superstar area, which she does have the skill to do, but is she going to be supported by the supporting cast that she has there? Now, some of the details from the Chicago Sky out of the first day of training camp, it seems like James Wade has this thing where he designates a player to shoot 2 free throws. And if they miss one, the other teammates, they wait underneath the basket, but then they have to run until the player makes that second free throw. Dana Evans was chosen to do that this year. And she made the first one, rimmed out on the second one. Her and James Wade cracked some jokes and they laughed about it. But it does seem like this team is having chemistry, right? And, it also was reported that Dana Evans came in to training camp absolutely jacked. And we're going to talk about why that may be important for her. She's listed by Swish Appeal as one of the players to possibly break out this season. 2 Chicago Sky players on that list, I might add. But, okay, but kind of some of the details coming out of this. First up, Lee Yarou, who's been a lot of questions marks around if she is going to play this season, was at training camp. Now, she did not participate in the part of the practice that the media was allowed to watch. James Wade says that she's here. When asked if Lee Yarou will be on the roster at the start of the season, he said this: "She's here. That's as much as I can tell you. She's here and has been here since April 25th. So we're just trying to take care of her physically so we can make sure she can play." So, hey, there's something to be said with that. So, Lee Yarou, who is really one of the few bigs that we do have potentially on this roster now, she didn't play a lot last season, so there's a lot to be desired for when it comes to her. But at least she is down there in training camp. There was some questions. We'll see if she remains to play. Seems like she's banged up a little bit from her international play, so that may delay her playing, and they're probably going to wait till she's up to full health before they do that. So we'll see there. Next up, Ksenia, our third round draft pick this year, is actually going to not be coming to the WNBA this season. Now, I was actually pretty high on the Sky and where they got her at and what she could mean ultimately for this team when you look at what she brings, the mentality she plays with. But it seems like right now she's enrolled in graduate school. She's also going to be playing over in Europe. And they'll see, what it's going to be for her next year. But it does not seem that she's going to be suiting up at all this season in the WNBA. And, considering a third-round rookie, probably wasn't going to end up being factoring in heavily to the rotation either way. But we know that. Marina Mabry right now is not at camp as of right now. She is finishing up her season over in Italy, but her final postseason could conclude next week, and then she'll be back at training camp as soon as possible. So our first preseason game, we're not going to have Marina Mabry there, which could open up a door for really Dana Evans to really carve out that rotation. And I know I mentioned Dana Evans a lot on this, but if you guys know the season that she had over in Europe, you will kind of understand it. But that's kind of some of the details coming out of this so far. Like I said, as far as Ruthie Hebert, it came out yesterday, and if you guys got to see that news, she had the birth of her son. Her son's 3 weeks old, so she's not going to be there to at least start the season. Now, she did express the excitement over being a new mom, but she does want to come and try to play this season. So she is working to get back on the floor. She is not given up on playing in the 2023 season. She's a former number 8 overall pick, so it is what it is. She is working with the director of basketball operations that we have here and our strength and conditioning coach to try to come back as soon as possible. She said this: "Today was awesome. I think everybody was just happy to be here. And there was so much youthful energy, which is great. The locker room was already fun, and I'm really excited for this team." So we'll see what that means if she's able to come. But shout out to her. Congrats to her on the birth of her son. And, it's just one of those things. That is one of the unique things with women's sports is that you do risk losing a season when you have a child, but that shouldn't stop you from doing so. And so hats off to her for everything she's doing and still trying to work to get back onto the court. But let's talk about this. So Swish Appeal has their list of 10 players who could take a leap in the 2023 season. And surprisingly enough, we have 2 Chicago Sky players on this list. And the first one up was Elena Smith. Now, in this, they quoted how she hasn't really quite gotten the offense to work out with her in the WNBA so far, but citing the fact that she is going to be one of the few front court players for the Chicago Sky team that can reliably shoot the three theoretically, that can stretch that floor. And she does have the potential to come in and fill that role of Ima Misamin to a degree. Do I think she's going to fill that completely one for one? No. But a lot of eyes are all on her, and she's going to have every opportunity to really try to come in and carve out her role for a Chicago Sky team that needs size, that needs bigs, and she can do that and is a versatile big, potentially offensively as well, and no slug on the defensive side of the ball either. So, she's going to be a heavy factor in the Chicago Sky's rotation, and seeing her on this list honestly kind of made me smile because, she's kind of been a overlooked player, so to say. And, James Wade even talked about in his introductory press conference how he really did view her as a steal. And even in this article saying that the Chicago Sky outbid other teams to get her. So that shows to me that they understand how influential and how important she can be for the Chicago Sky team in this season. And so, let's hope that that's the case. Let's hope that she comes in, she shows up, she plays and fits in her role very nicely. Because if she does, it can really change the dynamic of that front court, as well as add some much-needed three-point shooting and spacing for Kalia Copper to really go to work for the Chicago Sky team. But the next player for the Chicago Sky that was listed on this list, and that shouldn't be a shock to many people, is Dana Evans. And you guys know, all this summer that I've been doing episodes, or this winter, I should say, we're going into summer, that I've been doing episodes, I almost always bring up Dana Evans and how important it is that she find her role. And considering Marina Mabry isn't going to be there for at least the first 2, if not the first 3 preseason games, Dana Evans is going to have every opportunity. And, they talk about how she's really the only ball handler to return to this team. And the fact that Marina Mabry and what she's able to do scoring-wise, yes, we are expecting Marina Mabry to make a leap in facilitating. We see that. She's shown flashes of that. But to be able to run a 2-guard lineup with Dana Evans and Marina Mabry to where you can have 2 players that can handle the ball, distribute, and also shoot and score can really be huge. And when you look at the season that Dana Evans had over in Europe, you see that scoring potential that she has and how good she can be for that Chicago Sky team. I'm not at all surprised to see her name. I was surprised to see Elena Smith's name. I'm not at all surprised to see Dana Evans' name on a list like this. Dana Evans absolutely has a chance to break out this year. And when you hear James Wade even talk about him ready to give her a larger role. And with that said, he's going to have to, so to say, but if she steps in that and plays well, plays to the level that we know that she can, if you watch her over in Europe and you know that scoring and passing ability that she has, she can be a big-time player in this league. She hasn't played much her first 2 seasons in Chicago, but I really do hope this season Dana Evans not only carves out a role for herself and steps up and takes advantage of the opportunity of having veterans leave this team, but she also firmly plants herself in being a building block of the Chicago Sky team that people is a more known commodity for the regular fans. Dana Evans has so much potential, and I do not want to overlook that. She is a dog potentially in what she can do on the court, and the versatility in the way that she can score the ball, shoot, and distribute could be huge for the Chicago Sky team. So I really do hope that she's ready for everything that's going to be out there for her to grab, right? It's up to her to grab it. It's up to her to hold on to whatever she gets this season. It's also up to James Wade to recognize what he has in her and put her in proper situations, but she's going to get that opportunity. And we already talked about why she's going to get that opportunity. So now it's time for her to step up, take that bull by the horns, even though this isn't the Bulls. You guys know it's the same. It is what it is. And really own her development and own what she's able to do in a larger role for the Chicago Sky this season. She can be such a good complement for Kahleah Copper and the other guards that we have, especially when you look at even Courtney Williams, right? She can play with any other guard on this team. And the reason she's able to do that is because of her ability to facilitate and score the ball. And so when you bring that together, yes, Courtney Williams is the mid-range assassin in the WNBA. And you have Marina Mabry, who's an outright dog herself. That 3-guard lineup potentially with Dana Evans in there can be a really good benefit for the Chicago Sky team. And that power ranking of us being in 10th, I won't be surprised if everything comes together. We're much higher than that in the first, after the first month of the WNBA season. Let me know what you guys think on all the topics down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who do you think on the Chicago Sky roster could also be a breakout player that was not the 2 players that were named? Let me know all that down below. Or if you're on the podcast side, I'm going to tell you how you can get that into me here in a second. Make sure you're following the show at Chicago Sky Pod on every social media platform. You can also send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoSkyCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail so we can start having some mailbag episodes around here, 770-270-2799. That is it for me for today. I'll see you guys the next time we go to Skytown. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.